In this video, we will show you how to replace your rear view camera on this Ford Flex. This will be located on the back side of the liftgate and accessed from the inside of the liftgate. Let's get into it. Okay friends, let's get started on our job. To remove the rear camera, we're going to start with the liftgate open. With the rear liftgate open, continue on up along this area. We're going to want to disconnect this so we can remove the upper trim panel. To disconnect this, we'll use a small pocket screwdriver, get underneath this locking clip, and gently pry it up a little bit. Now with that in the unlocked position, you should be able to remove this. Set this aside. Move along to the upper trim panel. For this, we'll be using a plastic trim tool. Carefully get in between the trim panel and the liftgate and gently separate them. There we go. Now let's move to removing the lower trim panel. To remove this panel, we're going to start by coming up inside the grab handle area to where the reflectors are. Use a plastic trim tool. Slide it in between this area and pull this out of place. Behind that area, you'll find that you have two Phillips head screws. Remove the pair and then do the exact same thing on the other side of the liftgate panel. Now we can start to separate the liftgate panel from the liftgate. With that trim panel removed, the next thing you want to do is look on the liftgate itself. On each side of the liftgate, you're going to find two circular holes. And if you were to look straight up inside of those, you're going to find 11mm nuts. 4 of them in total, 2 on each side of the liftgate. Remove all 4. Let's make our way over to the wiring. To disconnect this, you can either use your finger or a small screwdriver. There's a small locking clip to press in. You can remove that. Give each one of the connectors a close inspection for corrosion. Assuming it looks good, you can set that aside. Now that we have all 4 of those mounting nuts off of there, the next thing we're going to do is have a look inside this area. What we're looking for is 17 little plastic retainers. For these, use some long nose pliers, squeeze on the 2 ears, and gently press them up and away from the liftgate. The next thing you'll want to do is have a plastic trim tool. We want to try to get in between the trim panel and the liftgate itself, only applying a little bit of pressure. There's several push tabs that we will have to remove. We'll start on one side of the vehicle and make our way all the way across to the other. There we are. I have that far corner dislodged. We'll continue on. There we are. Now we can move along and do the same thing on the other side of the vehicle. Let's get this last one. Now that we have all that popped free, make your way back to that center wiring one more time. You'll find that you have a rubber bushing holding the wiring in place. You can use a small screwdriver or just continue with your long nose pliers and gently press that out of the rear lift gate. Now we can start removing this. Before we lift the panel up and off of the lift gate, remove the wiring. Slide this right up and through its corresponding hole. Now we can remove this, and we'll have a look from the back side. Looking at the back side of the trim panel, directly in the center is where you're going to find the back side of your camera. Start by disconnecting the wiring. On this, you're going to find that you have a rectangular lock tab. Squeeze that in, remove the harness, give it a quick check for corrosion. Once you have that out of place, we're going to start removing this bracket. To remove the bracket, you'll find that you have one T20 mounting screw holding this in place. Remove it. We'll give that bracket a quick inspection, set that aside. Next, you can take hold of that camera, give it a little wiggle, and remove it from the trim panel. There it is, friends. All right, let's get ready for installation of our rear view camera. We'll take this and carefully put it in position. Continue on with your bracket. While putting this bracket in place, you want to make sure that you align the mounting screw hole. Start in the mounting screw and snug it up. Double check that bracket and camera to make sure they are secure. Now we can reconnect the rear view camera. We'll just press this in, listen for a click. There we are. We'll just make sure that's nice and secure. Now the next thing we're going to do is prepare to put this back on the lift gate. But before we do, there's a couple things that I want to mention. You remember that we had all of those little push tabs that made their way through the lift gate. On those tabs, there should be a little foam grommet. You can see it on some of the other ones here. If you don't have them on the tabs themselves, they're more than likely still stuck to the lift gate. So we're just going to pull down on the lift gate a little bit, remove all of them, and make sure that they're in place on all of the tabs. Now we can start putting this on the lift gate. While we do so, make sure you're putting the wiring harness down and through the corresponding hole. Now as we bring this up closer, we're going to align all of our little tabs with the corresponding holes in the vehicle. We also want to make sure that we push our rubber grommet back into the lift gate as well. Let's push that in there. Make sure that's completely secured all the way around. Let's get this aligned with the corresponding holes. Once you feel as though it's aligned, go ahead and press it into position. We're going to be listening for several clicks. Double check to make sure it's secured all the way across. With the lift gate in the upright position, continue on with your 4 11mm mounting nuts. Start them on, snug them up. Now we can reconnect that wiring harness. Listen for a click, make sure that's secure. All right, now we can get ready to install our lower panel on this. When doing so, we want to be paying attention to all of our plastic clips. Align those with the corresponding holes on the liftgate and press it into position. Just going to wiggle it around until you feel as though it wants to drop into those holes. Once it's pressed in place, continue on with your Phillips head screws. After your screws are in place, reinstall your reflective covers. Do the same on the other side of the liftgate. Now it's time for the upper panel. We're going to make sure that we align all of our locking tabs with their corresponding holes in the liftgate. Start from the center and make your way towards each edge. Double check to make sure it's secured all the way around. If you have the automatic liftgate, you can reattach that piston now. Double check to make sure that's secure. Okay friends, we fully installed our rear view camera. At this point, go ahead and put the key in the on position, put your vehicle in reverse, and test its functionality. Aside from that, thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.